All right, welcome back, the genius. So let's talk about expressions and then let's talk about operator precedence. What are expressions and what are operator precedence? So as we go on in this session, we are going to understand what all these things mean. So first thing first, expressions in Python, what are they? An expression in Python is any combination of values, variables, operators, and function calls that evaluate to a value. All right? Any combination of values, variables, operators, and function calls that evaluate to a value. So anything that can evaluate to a value, anything that Python interpreter can evaluate to a value is an expression. Okay. Now, we will still continue our coding on the website, but let me open the Python terminal, the Python interpreter, and show you something. So, I could just open my command prompts, my CMD. Okay. Now, I will type in my Python. Remember, we call this thing read, evaluate, print loop. Read, eval, print loop. So whatever you type in here, Python will read it and evaluate it. So anything that you type in here and Python was able to evaluate it is an expression. Why am I stressing this point is this. If I do something like this integer literal is an expression. If Python read it and evaluated it and printed it out for me. You're right. Even literals are expressions. Okay. If I make a function call and say um, if I do sum and I pass in 1, 2, 3. If I call this function, this is a function call, and this function call is an expression because it will be evaluated by Python. And once it is evaluated, it gives us a value, it returns a value. So if I do this, it gives us a value. So anything that can be evaluated and it gives us a value is an expression. Even literals, even literals are expressions. Okay, so I might still just leave this my interpreter on, but let's go back to what we are doing. So anything that can be evaluated, okay, if I go back again to the interpreter, if I say, when we started programming, the basic definition of expression they gave us was that an expression is a combination of operands and operators. So if I say 3 plus 8, we have the operand there is 3. One of the operand, the left operand is 3, the right operand is 8, and we have an operator which is the plus, the addition operator. So this was how we were taught expressions are. But as I started understanding better, expression is just anything that can be evaluated by the Python interpreter and it gives you a value. So it could be the combination of this, or it could just be a literal. Okay, so when we do this, Python evaluates it and gives us 11. So there's a value that is being returned. So Python expressions follow mathematical and logical rules to produce results. When you're working with your Python expression, there are rules, mathematical and logical rules to follow for you to produce the desired and expected result. When we were in primary school, we were taught board mass. All right. When you have an equation that has parentheses, fraction, and all those multiplication and division and addition, you have to follow the board mass rule for you to get the expected result. If you don't follow the board mass rule, you will not get the expected result. So when you're working with Python expressions, they follow these mathematical rules for you to get the desired result that you expected. Okay, so this is an example of an arithmetic expression. When you say x is equal to 10 plus 5, here we have two groups of expressions here. The first expression is 10 plus 5. The second expression is the assignment expression. Okay, there's an assignment expression here. Okay, let's go to the website. Okay, so if I do something like this, I'm going to take my time to explain this thing. If I say x is equal to 10 plus 5. There are two expressions here in this one expression. Expression can contain multiple expressions. The first expression there is the addition expression, 10 plus 5. So whatever you get as 10 plus 5 will have a value there. And that value will now be assigned to the variable x. So we also have assignment. When we do something like if you say a is equal to 9, this is an assignment expression. All right? This is an assignment expression. A value is being assigned to a variable. Okay, so this is an assignment expression. So in the first expression that we have here, there are two types of expression inside here. First of all is this one. All right, this is the first expression. Then after this 10 plus 5 is evaluated, then the second one will not be evaluated. Where we now have x is equal to, we'll now take the value of 10 plus 5, which is 15, and then assign it to x. All right, so there are two expressions inside here. There are just one expression here. Here we only have assignment expression. Here we have arithmetic expression, which is specifically addition expression. Then after that, we now have assignment expression. So expression is anything that can be evaluated to a value. 10 plus 5 is an expression because it will evaluate to 5. All right, s equal to, and the result of this thing is also an expression because it will evaluate to the result of the variable. Okay, so that's an assignment expression. Expression has to do with it must not just do with operators because, like I said, a literal is an expression. Okay, so when you say x is equal to something, it's an expression, it's an assignment expression because we just performed an operation. Okay, so we also have the logical expression like this. We are saying y is equal to s greater than 5 and s less than 20. Don't worry, we are still going to talk about different types of operators that we have. But in this case, we are saying x is greater than 5 and x is less than 20. Here, let's go and type this in the code. We had x is equal to, okay, let's say y is equal to x greater than 5 and x, what's the next one, Seth? X greater than 5, x greater than 5 and x less than 20. Okay. All right, let me bring this guy back. Okay, so s greater than 5 and s less than 20. Now, this is called a logical expression. All right, if you watch here, if you look at this thing very well, we have this one expression, 2, 3, 4. So first of all, there's something we call operator precedence. Based on operator, we'll talk about operator precedence later on. Based on operator precedence, this might run first. After running it, this one will run. All right, then we'll not take, this is an expression, this is an expression. So after the two expressions have been evaluated, we will now have another expression. We'll take the result of this one and the result of this one, and we'll now evaluate it against the AND operator. And whatever we get there, we'll assign it to the Y variable. Okay, so this is a logical expression. Don't worry, we are going to talk about logical expressions. Right here, we are just saying is S greater than 5? Is s less than 20? So when we talk about logical expressions, you're going to understand better. But this is an example of an expression, okay? If you watch, we have a lot of operators involved here. We have a lot of operands. Y is an operand, x is an operand, 5 is an operand, x is an operand, 20 is an operand. This less than symbol is an operator. The and is an operator. The greater than symbol is an operator. The equal to the assignment operator is an operator. Okay, so we have different mix of operators and operands. So operands are what operators operate on. All right, operators operate on operands. Okay, so we also have this one. Now this one, we are grouping them. So when we talk about operator precedence, you're going to understand better why we are grouping them. Okay, just like when you have your math equation, all right, you can group them, all right, to indicate where they can start from. So you can use it to group them. So we use brackets to parentheses to group them. Okay, so what are operators in Python? We have different types of operators. In later sessions, we'll be talking about different types of operators. So we have the arithmetic operators, we have the comparison operators, we have the logical operators, we have the assignment operators, and we have the identity operators. We also have membership operators. So these are the different types of operators that we have in Python. So we'll be taking a look at them one by one as we go on in subsequent sessions. So what is operator precedence? Okay. Now imagine when you have different kinds of operators in a single operation, sorry, in a single expression. All right. Which one will start first? Which one will end last? Okay. Just like when you in board mass, if I go on and do something like this in board mass, all right, when you say x is equal to 50 plus 30 times 69 plus 8 divided by 8, what else? Minus 6. With this, all right, you would have to know board mass very well for you to get the answer very, very well. Okay. So first of all, when we follow board mass, B is bracket. So first of all, we look at, is there any bracket here? No, there is no bracket. All right. After B, we'll have O, which is off. We don't have any off here. So after that, we'll now go for the D is division. Do we have division? Yes. So this one will be evaluated next. So what we are going to now have is I'm showing you board mass. I'm just recapping on board mass. So since division comes after division comes before multiplication, addition, and subtraction. That means this 8 divided by 8 will be evaluated first. So that we are now going to have x is equal to 50 plus 30 times 69, then plus 8 divided by 8 is 1. That is what we get from the evaluation there, minus 6. Then we'll now come and check again. The next thing we have here is multiplication. So after D, we have multiplication, board mass. So after D, we have multiplication. So we are now going to do this multiplication first. All right? We are now going to do this multiplication first. So we are now going to have 50 plus 30 times 69. Okay, so let me just do a very sharp. Okay, let me go to Python. What we have there is 30 times 69. So let me just use Python interpreter. So this is the case where you use the Python interpreter. But don't worry if you don't have a laptop. If you're using your normal your phone, don't bother about this. Okay, you can just when I say 30 times 69, it will give me 2070. So in case you don't have the interpreter, you can just come and say print. You can just come and run this thing sharply here. Say print 30 times 69. And when I run the code, that is what will be printed out. So we'll get 2070. All right. So that is the next step will be x is equal to 50 plus 2070 because that 30 times 69 will be evaluated plus 1 minus 6. So addition comes before subtraction. This is board mass. Then that means we are going to do 50 plus 2070 plus 1. Let me just do a quick print out here too. I'll just copy it and then I'll put it inside here. So if I run this now, let's see what we get. We will get 2421. So the next step will now be x is equal to 2421 minus 6. So that this is now going to be our final answer. All right. So when we now print S, we are now going to get the final answer. So this is how we do it in board mass. Okay. But when we come to Um, when we come to Python, when you're working with mathematical operators in Python, we use the operator precedence to calculate these things. So now let's take a look at it. Python follows a specific order of execution when evaluating expressions, just like Bodmas does. Okay, so the order is known as operator precedence. So the thing is this, um, when you have, let me show you now. Okay, we have just seen how we do it in board mass. So when you have something like this, when you have something like this in Python, how do you go about it? If you want to evaluate this thing, of course, Python will evaluate it for you, but you need to understand how Python is evaluating it for you so that you don't go and be expecting a separate result. So you're going to use, what you will use here is operator precedence. So what is operator precedence? Now let me show you. Now this is a table of all the, so not all, but most of the operators. All right. So when we talk about precedence level, the bracket has the highest precedence level. So whenever Python sees anything in bracket, Python will execute it first. Python will evaluate it first before every other thing. So let's go back to our browser, our code editor. So in case I have anything like this, normally, normally subtraction comes last, right? So if I come and put parentheses here, Python will first of all evaluate this before any other one. So Python will check out of these operators, which one has the highest precedence. It will come and check, oh, bracket has higher precedence. So it will evaluate, then it will now say x is equal to 50 plus 30 times 69 plus 8 divided by 8 minus 6 will give us 2. This is how Python is going to do it because it is using operator precedence. So bracket has the highest precedence. Whatever expression you have, bracket has the highest precedence, okay? So followed by exponential. When you have this exponential operator, the double star, all right? So Python will evaluate double star before any other thing. So after the parentheses, Python will evaluate the exponential operator, which is the double star. After that, Python will look for unary operators. Don't worry, we'll talk about them. Unary operators are operators that have operators that are operating on one operand. So after Python evaluates that, it will now go for X as a multiplication, division, integer division, and modulo. Don't worry, we'll talk about them. All right, we'll talk about them later on. But this is the order of precedence. Plus X, unary positive and unary negative, they have the same precedence. So whenever you have operators that have the same precedence, how do you solve the problem? Don't worry, we'll show you. We will use the associativity. We'll talk about that later on in this session, okay? So this is the order of how Python will evaluate. It will check for parentheses. If it doesn't have parentheses, it will check for exponential. If you have parentheses, it will evaluate whatever that is inside that parentheses, okay? If it has exponential, it will evaluate the two operands, that the left and the right. It will operate on them, get the value. That is how it does it. So multiplication, division, integer division, and modulo, they have the same precedence, the same level of precedence. But they have a higher precedence than the plus and the minus, the addition and the subtraction operators. Why the arithmetic operator, the plus and the minus, has higher precedence than the comparison operators. The comparison operators have higher precedence than the logical operator, the not operator, the and operator, and the or operator. So the logical not operator has a higher precedence level than the and operator and the or. So this is how it is. This is how it is. So let's take a look at some example. All right. If you look at, we have 10 plus 2 times 5 Okay, which one will be evaluated? Because multiplication has higher precedence. If you go back to our table, you will see that multiplication, which is this one here, it has higher precedence than addition. So that is why 10 plus 2 times 5, 2 times 5 will be evaluated first, then the result will now be added to 10. That is what we did there. Moreover, this is a comment. Anything that starts here is a comment. So they first of all say 2 times 5. Whatever we got, which is 10, then 10 plus 10 is 20. Okay? So 10 here now, we are having parentheses already. So here we are explicitly saying, first of all, do 10 plus 2 because a parenthesis will come first, will be evaluated first, then you multiply it by 5. So when you're looking at operators like this, first of all, look at the one that has the highest precedence. All right? They will be evaluated first before the one that had lower precedence. Look at this one now. We have we have 2 modulus, 2 exponential 3 exponential 2. Now, because the two operators we have here, they have the same level of precedence, we will now switch over to associativity. All right, you can still group them to get a desired result, but this will follow associativity. Associativity is what we discuss next in this session. Okay, once you have operators that have the same level of precedence, you will now follow the associativity rule. Okay, but you don't have to cram their order or their precedence level. No, you don't have to cram their precedence level. All you have to do is to go back to the table. If I get confused, um, multiplication and addition, which one comes first? I will just come to the table. I will just come to the table and look it up. Okay, addition comes lower, has a lower precedence than the multiplication table. I will just go and say it. Okay, so you don't have to cram it, but you have to understand how this thing works. Okay, so you see here, we have not true, or anyways, you might not really understand all these things because we have not seen, look at the operators, but just understand that we have what we call operator precedence. Okay, so whenever you have an evaluation like this, look it up in your in the table. So now, because let's evaluate this one, not true. If I explain it now, you might not understand what they do. But don't worry, we'll be explaining all these operators as we go on. But now, if you look at this expression now, not true or false and true, if we go back to the table, you will see that not has a higher precedence than and or. That means not will be evaluated first. The not true will be evaluated first, which will give us not is an operator that negates. Okay, so not true will give us false, not false will give us true. So not true will give us false, that is the expression, that is the evaluation of the first expression. Then we have false here. Then we now have false or false and true. Then false or false and true. Or and which one will be evaluated first? And will be evaluated first because it has a higher precedence. So false and true will give us what? False. All right. Then we'll now do false or false. It will now give us false. So the result of this expression will be false. Okay. So what is associativity of operators? Now, when you have operators that have the same level of expression of precedence, when they have the same precedence, their evaluation follows the associativity rules. Okay. So when you have, look at this operator now. Okay. This operator, if you have in a expression, you have these exponential operators, plenty of them, the associativity rule of this operator is right to left. So it will evaluate from right to left. So look at what we have here. We have 2 exponential 3 exponential 2. Because the two operators that are involved in this expression, they have, okay, let me just go to code and show you. I think it will make more sense. When we have something like this, when I say x is equal to 2, 2 exponential 3 exponential 2. Which one will be evaluated first? Now, because both of them have the same level of precedence, that means we will have to go with the associativity. So what is the associativity of this exponential operator? The associativity is that it will evaluate from right to left. So right to left, all right? That means this one will be evaluated first, all right? Whatever we get, the next thing will not be x is equal to 2 exponential 3 raised to power 2 is what? 9. All right? So 2 raised to power 9 would be what? I think 512 or something like that. Okay, you see how this thing was now this will be evaluated first. So I would make a comment here. Sorry, I'll make a comment here and I will now say 3 exponential 2 will be evaluated first, which will give us, which will give us 9. Okay? Which will give us 9. So the next evaluation will now be 2 exponential 9, which will now give us 512, I believe so. Okay, you see how this thing was evaluated. We have two operators who have the same operands. So how would you now do it? Once you have something like this, you have to check their associativity, their association. Okay, so this one will now evaluate from right to left. That is the associativity of the exponential operator. So you could actually do it like this to indicate. Okay. And most times, short, the best way when you're working with expressions like this, the best way is to group them in parentheses. By that time, you are in control. You know exactly how the expression is going to go. Okay. So the next operator we look at is multiplication, division, integer division, modulus, plus, minus. They basically have almost the same precedence, but plus and minus have lower precedence than the other ones. So whenever you see these guys like this, they are operating from left to right. The associativity or the association is from left to right. The exponential was from right to left. So when you have an expression that has multiple multiplication, division, integer division, or modulus, these 4 operators have the same precedence. All right, that means they will be evaluated from left to right. When you see plus and minus, they will be evaluated from left to right. Okay, so that is it. Here now we have 10 minus 5 plus 2. Because minus and plus have the same level of precedence, it will be evaluated from left to right. That is why 10 minus 5 was first evaluated and put in parentheses. Then the result will now be plus 2. Okay, I hope you understand this. Okay. So the logical operators, the association is also from left to right. It's just only the exponential that is from right to left. Every other one is from left to right. It's only the exponential that is from right to left. So when you have expressions like this, you can actually group them. That is the best way to group them in parentheses so that you'll be in control or understand that this is how Python evaluates them. All right. So and or also follows the left to right evaluation. So when you have and or, of course, and has a higher precedence. And has a higher precedence than or. But when you have and, you have multiple ands, okay? That means they will operate from left to right. They'll be evaluated from left to right. All right, so in summary, expressions are combinations of variables, values, operators, and function calls. All right, you can combine variables s plus y. Okay, you can even be literals, just integer literal or floating point literal, or it could be string literal. Okay, it could also be a combination of operators with operands, and it could even be a simple function call, or it can even be accessing an element in a list. Okay, so anything that evaluates to a value is an expression. Operators are categorized into arithmetic, logical, comparison, bitwise. We didn't talk about bitwise because most times we don't even use it. And we are not operating on the bits of our of our program. So that is why I don't even talk about it. So assignment, identity, and membership. Operator precedence defines the order of evaluation. Associativity determines how operators of the same level of precedence are evaluated. That means if you have a couple of operators who have the same level of precedence, then associativity will not kick in. All right. So thank you very much. And make sure you do your assignment, do your test, and I'll see you in the next session.